And it is a series that the broadcast of it is a slightly older audience, over 50. But the digital audience for it is under 30. And so I think that it's the same content. Some of it may be parsed up a little differently, and Rainey Aronson, as the executive producer, has really looked, as she's developed out these long-form documentary series, has also looked at virtual reality, has also published on Spaces, on some of the other platforms, and so she's thinking about the shape and the feel of the works that she's publishing, with the specific idea of making sure that we are bringing more people along with us as we go.
And I think that's a common, what you're presenting there is a common theme for us. We, as part of our new strategy, have made a commitment to kids because we know we need to continue to bring younger people into the CBC and help them find their touch point with us from a young age, and then hopefully pull them all the way through. So we've committed to doubling the amount of content we'll have for kids on GEM. So that's a huge opportunity to speak directly to young kids in that manner. But we're doing it in other ways. We've had a huge amount of success with our news content on Snapchat, and that all skews to a much younger audience. We also then, in the main channel though, recognize that there's still value for family programming that appeals to everyone. So whether it's Heartland that's shot right here in Alberta, or whether it's Battle of the Blades that's coming back in the fall, those are, young and old shared together, whether they watch it live on the channel or they catch up with it on GEM later. So I think it's about recognizing that what these platforms do for us is give us so many different ways to talk to different audiences, and you're just constantly kind of measuring your success and where's the pocket we're missing. There's an opportunity for us, I think, to talk to 9 to 13-year-olds, which I think is a bit of a gap for us probably, and that's a challenging demographic to reach. But we know they're spending lots and lots of time on screen, so it's not that they're not interested in content. It's up to us to figure out what that right content is, where the right place is to put it, how to talk to them about it so that they find it and engage with it. So we're trying to pull people through from beginning to end, absolutely.
In Australia, television its weekly reach was about 80% just 5 years ago, and now that's down to about 70% of weekly reach. And in the 18 to 24, it's even more marked, so it's down to like 60%. So that's naturally had an impact on us. Our core viewer is 79 years old and is generally a white family of British origin. So that's something to deal with.
Loving gardens in the ground.
Yeah, there are a lot of gardening shows. But actually, we had a misstep a couple of years ago. We thought that was a bad thing, and so we ignored our older audiences. And we actually taught them that there were other things to do rather than watch the ABC. So they are now, huge consumers of Netflix and other VOD platforms. And so now we're struggling to get them back. But I guess the ABC has always recognised that children are a really important part of its future. And many, many years ago, we launched 2 children's channels, one for preschool, one for primary school audiences. I guess the preschool channel is propping up the entire ABC in that it's connecting with huge amounts of Australian families. And Bluey, our animated series that we co-produced at the BBC, is extraordinary and has a massive impact in Australia, and it's an Australian story. But I guess the really hard bit, and we do it through radio better than we do it through television, is the youth, as they used to be known. Triple J is our radio station, and it's not ABC Triple J, it's just Triple J. They hide away from mum and dad, like all teenagers. But through popular music, through Australian music, that has a much stronger connection than television. I think where we've concentrated on Australian stories, whether it's drama or entertainment, we have been able to broaden out the audiences. But it's a huge challenge for us, and I think it just means that, invest more in public broadcasting so that we can do more content.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the VOD platforms, the Netflix, Hulu, Amazons, and so on. And not just these platforms, even the local platform that has been launched. For example, in Australia, there is one that's very, very effective called Stan, or Illico in Quebec, or these kinds of platforms. Interestingly, you've got various options in your policy. For example, ABC has been working with Netflix on some shows. Are you actually going to work with the enemy, if I may say? Are you going to actually try to avoid that because your values are different? In a time where, for example, the platforms, and especially Netflix, is investing heavily in kids, in animations, and because they've understood that clearly to grasp this audience and that they go along all together, they need to invest a lot. There is right now a major festival in animation in Annecy in France, and Netflix is going to announce a major budget for developing local animation there. So how do you work or fight these platforms, and what's each other's policy regarding these platforms today?
Again, you look at me. I think, look, we work with a lot of, we work with everyone, and we work with a lot of producers. We just have produced, we're now shooting a second season with Marcus Samuelsson with Vox. We work with a lot of content producers. We've worked with both Amazon and Netflix, both as distributors and also as content producing partners. But their businesses, their priorities continue to shift, and as everyone in this space, because we're all figuring it out. No one has the absolute answer of what this is going to look like on the other side. That's why your values question was probably the most important question here, because as much as we also focus on what needs to shift, we have to also focus on what we need to hold close. And we were talking, Amazon just shuttered their original children's production unit, announced it 2 weeks ago. So I think that, people are in a space and then they're not in a space. And I think that even organizations with very large budgets, significantly larger than all of us put together times 100 or 1,000 or 1,000,000, whatever, is they're going to look for the market and try to figure that out. You look at who's buying what in the documentary film space, that continues to shift around. And so I think that, look, from my perspective, we look for partnerships as they make sense. I think that it is foolish to ignore very large distributors who can connect your content with the public. But I think you have to think about under what terms and what makes sense. And the biggest challenge that I'm guessing, certainly one of the ones that I have, and I'm guessing that my two colleagues here, we don't have enormous promotion budgets. And I think that one of the biggest challenges in this environment is how do you make sure that your content pops above all of this noise, and relationships with some of these partners, in addition to connecting to different people, also gives us an opportunity to build audience. So as long as it's branded with us, and so people associate the content with us and then can find it in other places. But it is a moving target. And I think if we were sitting here a year from now, we would have a slightly different conversation. Frankly, if we're sitting here 2 months from now, we might have a slightly different conversation. It's very dynamic, very fast moving. And I think that for all of, at least from my perspective, I think you just have to be willing to try things, see what works. If it doesn't, stop doing it. Don't keep doing things that aren't really adding value, but be open to the fact that we may be doing things very differently than we have, over our history.
Michael, for example, ABC co-produced shows with Netflix, or even with Sky, but Netflix was, you had the rights for Australia, and the rest of the world was seeing this that had been done with the ABC, and you could have done with Netflix, so it was a choice.
Yeah.
So why did you went along that? Rai is doing the same, but other public television such as France Télévisions or RTVE in Spain don't want to do it. So why did you decide to do it?
Well, we're Australians, we have no enemies. Everybody is our friend. But seriously, competition is good for us in Australia. It's a very small market, really. And so competition, investment in Australian production is a good thing. And we'll encourage people to come to Australia and invest in our content. But I guess, with the small public service annual budget, to leverage that with global players is really helpful. So we can focus on commissioning high-end drama, high-end factual, high-end specialist content, at the same time as spreading the cost and the headaches and the resources with other partners. And Netflix has been a great partner of ours. I think that the future is probably going to be more challenging as they become more sophisticated. They've just opened up an office in Sydney, likely to have a group of people in Sydney commissioning. So you can see that now they're more sophisticated in various key territories, that they're likely to want the rights that we want.
Because now Netflix is under fire with Disney Fox coming, so
Well, exactly.
there's a new enemy coming always somewhere.
There always is. But it does all come down to rights and exclusivity and windowing arrangements, I guess. I mean, it's been ever thus. I remember when cable and satellite launched in the UK, the BBC was very happy to work with Viacom and Disney on co-productions. And then, once they became sophisticated in the market and they had a huge subscriber base, they didn't really need the local broadcasters anymore. So I guess we're about to face that period.
And how do you see that? Because Canada is basically in the heart of the matter, in the heart of the battleground. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't seen any kind of agreements between Netflix and CBC, or maybe on some very specialized programs, but not on a massive. You pointed out more towards a kind of connection with ABC. So what's your view about that?
Well, I think as a general statement, I would say partnerships are really important and increasingly so. None of us can be doing all of this stuff all by ourselves, so we all are constantly, I think, looking for appropriate partners to help us move projects forward. I think in many cases, and Netflix would be an example, that's a show-by-show thing. Anne with an E, one of the most stunningly beautiful shows that exist, was financed with the great support of Netflix, and that was the right call for that show, for that deal, for that time, for that project. It doesn't mean that we will do tons with Netflix, it doesn't mean we'll never do anything with them again, but I think it's on a very show-by-show basis as you look, what do you need and who might be best suited to help you make that happen. I think at the end of the day, though, what guides us in our partnerships, and maybe hence why the MOA with Michael's company is so important, is that we are looking to do partnerships to help us make content that are really supporting that mandate of ours to serve and to protect our culture and to hear Canadian voices with a unique Canadian sensibility that are reflective of the Canadians that represent Canada today, coast to coast to coast. That's not Netflix's job. Occasionally they may sort of line up with us in that by coincidence, but their job isn't to protect culture, that's our job. And lots of times their decisions about what they do and the kind of deal they want to make will take them off that path that is so critical to us. So I think it's about us staying really clear about what we're trying to accomplish, making sure that when we do partnerships that they support our needs too, and some of that's about the money, but some of it's to your point about the branding. Let's be sure that our brand is strongly on the shows that we're doing. And let's not don't stray from that path. And then where there's good partnership opportunities, by gosh sakes, let's go get them because we could use all the help we could get.